Hello, my name is Linda, also known as Tortajala around the internet, and I love creative journaling and all things stationery. And today I want to show you what's inside my OG Midori Black Passport TN. I have labeled it Stationery Drama because I have one insert in here to basically journal about stationery topics, things that are happening in the stationery world that maybe have a little bit of drama or scandal related to it, but really just my personal thoughts. Of course, they are very small, like snippets of events, personal experiences, and only what I hear about in my very small social circle. So it is by no means a complete documentation of, stationary news or anything. Even though stationary is a niche community, there's still a lot going on, of course, that I know nothing about. But I found that there are many times when I want to express my thoughts about a certain topic, and it definitely doesn't fit in my other types of journaling. Like I have family memory keeping and documentation, but I don't put, like super personal kind of things in it because the audience is like for the whole family and for my kids. And I thought it would just be nice to keep this particular topic separate from my like personal Hobonichi weeks kind of journaling. So I have been hoarding in here this travel tools insert for years, and finally now I am using it. And I realize that I prefer travel journaling in the standard TN size. So this small passport size, it has to like have a different purpose for me. And so this was like a great way to use it. So what is this stationary drama? Like, what do I really mean? Obviously, there are like stationary scandals, if you can call it that, that happen in the stationary world hobby, but often um, there are like little things that do affect me personally. Like if it's actually my personal experience with like a stationery store, or it's a topic across the whole stationery like community, and I have strong opinions about it, or it affects me in some way, so I really like have things to say. So there are so many topics, of course, and I might know nothing about them. So these are just like a very small subset um, of things that I've come across, and of course, my personal viewpoints. In my previous video, I had like organized all of my traveler's notebooks, and I promised to go through and show each TN setup in detail. So that's what I'm doing for this particular one. And I have to say first, like sort of like a disclaimer or something, I hesitated for a long time to share this one because of this topic, like the stationary drama topic. It might ruffle some of people, like some people, like might not agree with me, obviously. And my channel is about stationery and journaling. It's not, gossip or share the tea kind of channel or anything like that. So I just want to preface to say I'm not trying to stir things up, and I don't want to encourage hate of any kind. I'm not trying to, spread like bad news or like cancel anyone. Again, these are just my personal journal entries. And I just realized that I think I should be free to express my personal thoughts on my personal YouTube channel. They're just my personal experiences. And part of having this YouTube channel is letting myself chat about the stationary things, even if it is a little bit of drama. So, that's all I have to say about that. So let's dive on in. For this TN, I used this red elastic because I thought it was like fitting with the whole drama, like mega contrast kind of thing. And inside, there is just one insert in here, and I've wrapped it in this sort of like generic, it's one of those passport, actual like passport covers, like plastic covers just for protection purposes. And I also have an old craft insert in here that you can see my kids have scribbled over it, but I put it in here to use the pen loop that's attached. And um, in the end, though, I end up sort of using two pens mostly to write in here. to write in here, so I haven't figured out like the pen situation yet. Um, I know that there exists like really nice, like leather tube pen loop clips, but they're really pricey, so I'm not ready to get that right now. I just sort of slip everything in under the elastic and like set it aside. I don't know, maybe I should just use a pencil case. Um, but I'm using the Pentel sign pen to sometimes do like a title, like a bold title. And then I'm just writing with my Sailor Prophet Jr. with the Sailor 223 ink that it came with, sort of like a grayish color. But yeah, nothing fancy. I'm just like gluing things in and writing basically. Inside the craft folder, I just have like extra note paper, sticky notes, and I have the new Love and Trip clear folder where I have some double-sided sticky tape from Travelers, just in case I need that to stick things in. So the idea is that when I want to journal about something, if I have ephemera or something like that, then I would just slip it in this clear folder so I can keep it all together with this TN like to be processed. Um, this very cute travel tools insert, I think it's from 2019, 2020, the travel tools collection. I also have the standard size, which is like a gray color with all of the embossing, and this one is the pink color for the passport size. Um, and there was also a roll of washi tape in that collection. I have that as well. You can see here on the craft folder, I have put some of the tape there. So I really like this style of cover where there's like lots of elements to look at. It's very cool, and obviously it is about stationery, things you would use with your TN kind of thing. So I thought it was fitting for this topic of journaling. By the way, here on the front cover, this is actually a sticker from Flax Art and Design store in Oakland. I got it. They also have a location in San Francisco, I think. They are an art supply like store, really big, but I went there to attend my very first stamp caravan by Travelers in like the summer of 2023. So it's just like a special spot in my heart. I like had my baby with me. She was like strapped to me, and I had a good experience. And yeah, I just put the sticker here because I think it matches like the colors and gives me really nice memories. So getting into the insert, first, I have this loose page that I just stuck in this front pocket because I did these two stamps from the stamp caravan. I just like the way it looks, so I put it here. And then the title page of the insert, I have decorated with a variety of stickers, and I just labeled it um, drama. It's just like a bunch of random stickers. And I really just think it's fun more than anything else to lean into this whole like stationary drama, ooh, gossip kind of thing. Even though, again, I'm not being like I'm not trying to stir things up. So this is not a drama channel or anything. It's more so I'm just being sort of funny about it. And I think it's just um, yeah, just like fun times to create this insert. So that is the deco. And the first couple of spreads that I have in this insert, I'm actually just journaling about how the idea for this insert came about. And it gave me the opportunity to also use all the extra travelers ephemera that I keeping because I can't throw them away. I also printed out some photos from the Travelers Company blog and websites. So remember, if you ever want to use, or you need some decoration, you can always just print out stuff from the internet and, cut it out and stick it in your journal. Um, so it's funny because I really like making these little pages, like the passport size. It's really small, it's easy to fill up. But the one thing I probably don't like is my own handwriting. I don't have great penmanship, and you know, it's not like the best kind of thing for the whole aesthetic. But we have to learn to accept ourselves, right? So I'm just trying to embrace it, like do what I would do without trying to think of like what is the final process kind of thing, like what it looks like. Um, so anyways, that's one thing. But my, first pages and are just about like my thoughts about this whole topic and travelers. And my official like sort of first entry, if you can call it that, is um about the resellers in the TN world. And obviously generally in the stationery world and obviously beyond as well, because there's always resellers. Um, it applies to all things in life, not just stationery. But when something is sought after, there's always going to be someone who's going to try to profit off of it, right? But specifically in the TN world, there are many, many collectors, right? So I feel like it can get a bit crazy, a bit of a frenzy, and the markup can definitely get exorbitant. And I struggle with the topic personally because I think people are free, to spend their money how they want to, without being like morally shamed or judged by bystanders. But at the same time, on the reseller side, like what is considered, ethical, or should there be a limit to how much like you mark things up? Like I don't know what's right. There probably is no right or wrong because the worth of something is, very dependent on the person and what that thing might mean to that person. For example, a particular themed TN can bring up feelings or some kind of connection. I mean, imagine it's with someone that you have lost in your life. So suddenly the value of that, themed TN is like huge, right? You might drop a lot of money to get that thing because it has this personal significance to you. Whereas to someone else, it's like, that's ridiculous kind of thing. So, just coming back to this topic because it seems to be talked about a lot, I had started out talking about my personal history with TNs and how I knew about it years ago, but I was not internet savvy at the time. So, I didn't know how to like even buy Traveler's Company because it wasn't. So distributed like in the USA. This is like way before there was Travelers Company USA. But you see things online and you're influenced. And I actually started out making my own TNs, the whole Midori, Fodori phase of things. Like that's my origins of it. And it wasn't until like many, many years later before I actually bought like an official Traveler's Notebook cover, because it was then readily available in, most stationery stores across the globe. So again, just journaling about all those thoughts about Travelers Company, um, the way that they do their marketing, um, my just sort of feelings about Travelers Company in general. I feel like they as a company, like as a brand, they don't really push their product that much. Like honestly, I don't think that they're that kind of company. I mean, I know they have, you know, new releases, they have special cover releases for different places in the globe, but I just get the feeling that, they would be perfectly happy for you to use your like 1TN cover for years and years and years, and they're so impressed, when they see something like that at like live events. Um, they're not really promoting like for people to buy like every single TN cover. You know what I mean? I feel like that's something we as the users have sort of created. Um, so the special releases that they do, I don't feel like they're doing it to make money. Like, I don't know, my perspective, like if this company were in the hands of like Western, business ideas of maximizing profit, they would have so much more distribution and releases and products. But you can tell, um, even though they've been here for so many years, their growth is very gradual. They're very thoughtful about like every move that they make, and their products are still pretty limited. You know what I mean? I feel like, it's minimal, and the special releases, they are really trying to do something that is very specific to that like travel location, which fits with the whole world and like idea of Traveler's Notebook about traveling and seeing new places and connecting with people through like this analog life. So I feel like the limited edition thing, like it's just a different motivation from what you might assume. Like it's really for the local community that's there rather than like always trying to drop like limited stuff because they want to boost up the value of their products. Does that make sense? Like in the fashion world, you want things to go viral. There's only like X amount of pieces of a certain thing because it drives up the value. Like, but I just don't feel like they are actually going for that. Obviously, I don't know. I don't work for them. But maybe I'm biased because I just love Traveler's Notebook and the whole world of stationery. But I just feel like the brand, it has such cozy, good vibes. So let me know what you think. Like, how do you think of Traveler's Company as a brand? Like, in your eyes, I really do wonder what people think. And I did mention my in person experience at the Stamp Caravan at Flax the summer of 2023. So I did like write a little bit about that as I continued to journal about consumerism, resellers, like all that kind of stuff. And the very first personal entry, I guess, here is regarding a specific shop that I had a negative experience with. So I just wanted to document it because honestly, I think I've been pretty lucky. I don't really have a lot of bad experiences in the stationery world, and I do, shop a lot, like I think, from lots of different um, stationery shops, indie shops, big shops, all that kind of stuff. So I was just really surprised to have had such a negative experience, and I just wanted to document it. Again, I really did hesitate to share because I'm not trying to tear anyone down, so please don't, like spread bad news kind of thing. Like that's not the point. I'm just um documenting my own experience, my personal thing. And I think that um, what I'm putting here, like, it isn't a secret either because I have talked to some people about it online. Because if someone were to ask me, I would tell them the truth. You know what I mean? It's not a secret, but at the same time, I'm not like going out to like cancel people. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So then I go into some stationary controversy that has been going around for years, probably. You can probably find it online and read about it. A lot of stuff is from Reddit because that's where people sort of like chit chat a lot, and also on social media and what people post, and then you like start messaging with someone and like talking to people about that kind of thing. So this first one is about Noodlers Inc. and it's why I never buy any of their products. So that's that. Um, and the next one is about Moomin and Kaweko because there was this like funny thing about um, what happened between these two companies, um, and just about the dupe, like the world of dupes or copycats or that kind of thing. And this is something that I think I could talk about it endlessly, and I feel very strongly about it, um, like in certain ways. I know, like, I think it's a thing we are sometimes conditioned to believe, like, it's not conscious, it's just what's happened around us and what we've been exposed to. So generally, people always, um, just very easily and lightly, they say, like, oh, products from China are cheap. And they mean as in less expensive and also not great quality. And sure, we all know that in a sense to be true because the labor there is cheaper and there's just like lots of other factors that go into it. So there's this idea that China is always producing, cheap stuff and copying people's stuff, and there's a lot of negativity. And obviously, yeah, there are cases, the dupes, the products look similar, and maybe I'm biased or I'm slightly offended because I am Chinese. I didn't grow up in China, but like, there's this thing of I don't like the normalization of the stereotype because it's just not a good thing. You know what I mean? Like it's a very closed way of thinking because it's like, there just as there are independent makers and people doing amazing things in other parts of the world, there are equally those people who are in China as well. They just happen to be in China. But they have to fight against this idea that everything from China is like, cheap and low quality. So it's just very sad. And I I understand that like we stereotype things, we generalize things. That's a natural human process because our brains are trying to understand something and we group them together, we categorize them. But I think sometimes we have to like stop ourselves almost and like question our initial reaction and wonder if it's actually valid, if it's actually what we want to believe. So the story with Moomin and Kaweko, Moomin is a fountain pen company in China and they make a lot of great products. Kaweko is a German fountain pen company and there have been products out there that seem like Moomin's copying existing pens. Um, and some of them, like, it does look very similar. It's actually not a Coeco pen. I think that they more so might have copied like a, um, what is it, like a Visconti or something, like an Italian, like it looks similar, you know what I mean? But, dupes exist in like every industry. Like if you go to the makeup world, like there's always like, oh, this is the luxury version, and but if you can't afford that, this is the dupe. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to create the same formula. So there's always going to be somebody who is going to make like the cheaper alternative if there's like a market, if there's profit in it. So I more so have an issue with people like outright stealing, like you're copying pasting other people's work. Um, in the sense that like you're counterfeiting. You know what I mean? Like this happens in the artist world so much, right? Someone just rips, artists' work from the internet and then like use it as if it's theirs. So obviously that's stealing, right? And I think we can all agree on that part. But then it gets like into the gray area when someone creates something that is like just very similar or maybe too inspired, and so people get offended. And I don't know, we have to consider like with like classic fountain pen designs, they sort of do all look sort of the same. You know what I mean? Like they're very similar. Of course, some companies have like very distinct like detail, but again, there are only so many variations you can make, right? And if someone does copy something or make like a dupe of something, I think it's more of like a distaste, right? Like it's a knockoff, you know what I mean? So it's probably not going to last very long, or maybe they're catering to a completely different audience. So it's like whatever. Um, it it just like this happens in the whole world of all kinds of products. Like there's copycats, and some people they never have like their own original ideas, but they're never going to be like the innovators, right? They're never going to really last in the long run if you're constantly chasing and not like creating your own products. But back to this like issue, Moomin, they do create their own products, okay? Like they have a lot of other stuff, and maybe they started out like they were in the business and like created things that look sort of similar. But basically, I don't know, someone maybe accused them of creating something that looks like Coeco, but really it doesn't. Like they don't really have anything that specifically looks like Coeco to me. Um, but what happened was Coeco just decided to like go a legal route to prevent Moomin from selling in Europe, because Coeco legally registered the name Moomin in Europe. So then you couldn't, they owned it. So Moomin couldn't sell their products in Europe. Um, it was like a legal, move basically to like try to block them or cause trouble. Um, and Moomin, of course, just pivoted and they just renamed their stuff. And so when they sell in Europe, it's called Mahjong. So Moomin and Mahjong are actually the same thing. They just had to change their name because in Europe, their name was already taken. Um, and in the online sphere, honestly, a lot of people made fun of Coeco because it was just weird. Like they don't have any pen that looks like a Coeco. So it was just weird. Um, but yeah, Moomin, they just did what they had to do and continued on, with their business. I just think the whole thing is really funny to me because this wasn't even a case of like, someone literally trying to take your design and like, like become another, Coeco Sport, dealer or something like that. It wasn't that. So I don't know. It's funny to me. But for example, if you think of Lamy safaris, there's like a million dupes of Lamy safaris out there. You know what I mean? So many. The thing is, are they counterfeit, or do people know they're buying a dupe because you're just like paying a couple dollars for like a cheap, version that probably doesn't work as well? I don't know. But, you know, I think there's a difference if someone is saying like this is a Lamy, but it isn't. You know what I mean? But most people know like they're buying a dupe. They're going for the dupe for whatever reason, cost, etc. So I don't even really know if it's a problem, because in the fashion world we know there are so many knockoff pieces. People feed off of each other in the design world, right? Like it just keeps like going. Everybody's trying to innovate, do their own thing, whatever. But it's all related, and there's a lot of like crisscrossing. But again, for me, the problem is when you think you're buying XYZ, but it's actually a fake. You know what I mean? So you're getting like tricked. You know what I mean? So that's not okay. Like if you're buying a luxury handbag, but it's not actually like you're buying a luxury handbag at luxury prices and you're actually getting a fake, you know what I mean? So that's not buying a dupe, that's buying a counterfeit, you know what I mean? So that's not okay. And again, I'm sure it's a sticky subject and there are so many different, cases, and you have to like think about it case by case scenario kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I think. Like I just think that um it's not okay if you're, you know, counterfeiting and like tricking people, but like dupes, they exist in all industries. Like it's just gonna happen. But people know like the audiences are probably different. You know what I mean? So next, I journaled also about the Lamy Dark Lilac ink release, and this was just like a Stationery World like event announcement. And the reason I added this in here because it was sort of cool. Like there was a huge article in the New York Times about it, and I just think it's cool that like a crazy niche stationery thing made it to like mainstream media. It's like super nerdy, you know what I mean? In terms of controversy, I don't even think it's a controversy because honestly, Lamy released their really famous like sold out ink from 2016 again in 2024. It's dark lilac, but they knew it wasn't going to be the same ink because they could not recreate their original recipe. Certain raw materials could not be used anymore, so they just did their best to like make a match and then added like, this new color to their line. It's obviously not the same exact ink, but I mean, I guess they called it the same name. So I don't know. So at that time, it just provided a lot of entertainment for people in like the nerdy fountain pen world because it was like a swatch fest and everybody was just having fun with it. So again, I don't think it's really a controversy per se. It was just like fun to talk about that kind of things and play with your inks. Next, I did some general journaling about multiple like controversial topics that sort of happened at the same time in my like social media circle. Um, Bad advertisements from Stationery Pal, really bad stuff from Robert Oster, and questionable things from like Goulet pens. And again, I don't have anything specific to say about this because I think I don't know, it's just hard to try to sum everything up in a couple sentences. Um, Generally, my thought is just like it's perfectly sensible for every person to take in the information that they have at hand. And then with that information, they're going to make their own judgments. And so they're going to use their own buying power how they want, you know? So I think it's okay if someone says, like, hey, I don't like that. I'm just going to boycott, XYZ brand. And I think it's okay if you want to do that. It's a personal decision. And lately I have just realized that I want to be really intentional about my purchases as much as possible. So I do really choose like what shops I buy from. Sometimes I buy from a shop even though it costs more because it's not about the money, it's who I want to be a patron to. And that's really important to me personally. Um, so that's that. And in the next spread, I actually journaled about the Moleskine paper drama, mostly because I follow Seaweed Kisses here on YouTube. I followed her for many years. I just love watching her obsession with like all stationery things. And she went through like this phase of, well, it's not phase. She always uses Moleskine, but she had a bunch of videos about Moleskines and trying to find like what is the secret to finding the fountain pen friendly paper because it's weird. Like Moleskine is just so inconsistent. It's just all in good fun. Like I'm not taking it seriously. I'm not trying to trash the brand or anything. I think everyone knows like their notebooks are very inconsistent in terms of the paper. They're not like the same. You know what I mean? From book to book. And honestly, I think there's no secret code or anything like that. I think that Moleskine just has a really inconsistent paper quality because they have so many different manufacturers in different countries making their books, right? And the reason sometimes you find similar patterns is because if there was good paper, like a batch that was made, obviously it was made in one place and there was a whole bunch made. And so they have similar characteristics in terms of like the packaging, the branding, whatever they were using at that particular time. But on the whole, I think it's just inconsistent. It's a lottery. Like, I personally don't really use fountain pens in Moleskines, so I don't really care. I just liked watching the videos because it was like fun, stationary stuff. Um, but in general, I do like Moleskines like the notebook. I can't explain why, but there's just this allure to their notebooks. I mean, obviously they're good at marketing or whatever. It's like this little black journal. I don't know, it's just cool. And personally, I've been using them for years and none of my moleskins have fallen apart. So maybe I've gotten lucky or something because I do heavy gluing and I really chunk up my journals. If you look at some of my old videos and stuff like that, like they get huge because I collage a lot and I add a lot of ephemera. So for me, it's a great notebook option because I have used like the dollar store or whatever, like other kinds of notebooks as well, and some of them fall apart. So they're not necessarily all made equally. Um, so that's about Moleskine. The next spread, I journaled about Tomoe River paper, changing to Sanzen in the stationery world in general, as well as the Hobonichi specific events. You might have already known that this year, with the new Hobonichi releases, there was so much Hobonichi drama. It was really quite sad. And I really feel for the people who got like a bad planner with like really bad paper. That really sucks because Hobonichi is really expensive and obviously there is like a minimum level of what the paper should be able to take in terms of fountain pens. So I feel like if you've got a quote unquote bad um, planner, you really should contact your retailer or Hobonichi directly because the product is not what it's supposed to be. If that makes sense. Because if you look at these sample papers that we got, I used the sample Sanzen papers that Hobonichi gave us like years past, I think in 2023, when they had announced like eventually all the papers going to change to Sanzen. I journaled in here with all of these like drama things. The Hobonichi launch crash, how it frustrated so many people, the change of the paper and the issues that were popping up, as well as the price change. Like that was crazy. Basically, Hobonichi realized like a couple days after their launch that all their foreign pricing were it was like wrong or miscalculated or something. So they had to raise all their prices. So I got my Hobonichi weeks for 30 euros before the price change or fix. But all the retailers have updated their pricing too. So it's the same like from the Hobonichi website or from like a global retailer. But I got my weeks for 30 euros, and the price, if I bought it now, is 40 euros. Like, that is a huge increase. You know what I mean? It's not like a couple, like 1, 2, 3 euros. So I feel the pain because all of these things, they're just going to all go up in price, right? Year to year. It's not going to go down. So I realize it's a huge issue. But like playing devil's advocate here, I realize when you use something for like a whole year, if it really works for you and it's a great tool in your life, 40 euros is not outrageous, right? Um, if you break it down, it's like 10 or 11 cents a day, like 365 days. So the problem, of course, is that a lot of people don't have just one planner, right? They have like five. So I understand it can get out of hand. And just generally for everything in life, right? Everything's getting more expensive. So, we all want the things and the cost of things is going up. So there's going to be a limit and we just have to prioritize and somehow find like what is okay for us. Um, so yeah, I journaled about all of that here. And then I think the next one is my last entry in this insert, and it just sort of goes back to the reseller topic with Traveler's Notebook because I was super, super lucky just recently to be able to get the Taiwan beer standard size TN from a D stash. It's a special release in Taiwan from 2021. So the thing is, because I got it from a D stash, it was not overpriced. Like if you go to eBay right now, it's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I just bought it from a nice lady in France, like destashing it. So she even gave me like an extra branded Taiwan beer drawstring bag to put my TN in. There was the original packaging, and it was like barely used. It was like brand new. So I'm super thankful for like people who destash. I think that's one of the great things about the stationery community because regular maybe like users or people, they're not really trying to like scalp you, like make money off of it. They're just passing on things to a new home because they don't use it anymore. So I really appreciate that. I really love it. But I realize that, there is a market for resellers, and that's just life. Um, if you follow Journal with Jazz on Instagram. She's also here on YouTube, Jasmine. She has amazing videos, by the way, so much like cool Traveler's Notebook stuff, so go check that out. But she takes sort of like maybe one side of things that it is a business, right? Like in the sense that if someone is a reseller by business, so they have to travel to a specific location, they have to take time, hours to get in line, get a limited edition product, obviously put up their money, and of course they're going to sell it for more, right? They have to get their money's worth. Just like if you hired someone to like do that service, like be a personal shopper or whatever, go by XYZ in Japan or whatever location. So, of course, you have to pay for the service. So, she just considers it a very normal, like understandable, like markup kind of thing. And I guess I stand like I don't know, in the middle, because I don't know what the limit is. Maybe there is no limit, like that's the point. It's just economics or whatever. But it's like, at what point is it preying on collectors and people who are obsessed with TNs? And at what point, like, is it okay because it's just an honest service? Like you're just paying for a business service. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to draw the line. And I know that April, she is Penguin's creative on IG, and she's also here on YouTube. She works for Travelers, so obviously, she might be biased in that sense, but I think she's sort of always been against like resellers in general. I don't think she likes it. That's the feeling I get, anyways. But recently, there was the California road trip events, and there was the limited edition Traveler's Notebook. The road trip one was released with a bunch of accessories as well. And the crazy thing is, it was like a couple day event in like Long Beach and then like in San Francisco and then up in Port Townsend. And um, the whole set, like the first day, was on eBay almost immediately for almost like $700, like 650 or something like that. Like if you bought the whole set. The whole set at the event, if you bought it, was like 135 or so, something like that. So again, I don't know if 4 or 5 times the markup is considered normal given the rarity of the items, or is it crossing the line? Is it too much? Like, are you taking advantage of people? Um, and of course, I realize no one is forcing you to buy these things. So, like, if it's too expensive, just don't buy it, right? So, obviously, if the item doesn't sell, maybe the seller is gonna like keep lowering the price. I don't know. And of course, it's not just TNs. I mean, this kind of thing happens in all kinds of industries across the stationery world too. Like think of like Holy Grail, fountain pens, rare items, like they're going to cost a lot. And I understand like economics, supply and demand. And it just makes you think like, let's say you owned an item that was worth a lot and you needed to make a profit or you just want to make a profit. So aren't you going to sell it for that profitable price because someone's going to buy it? Or are you just going to be like, no, I think that's unethical and I'm just going to put it for cheaper than what someone would pay. Like, I don't know. I I can understand those who work for travelers. It's weird because um there's this negative feeling, right? When it comes to someone using like this product you created, or even for us who love the brand, like using your love for the product and sort of manipulating you to pay like a lot of money. And generally, I think going back to what I mentioned at the beginning, I don't feel like the brand Travelers Company actually wants to drive the price of their items up. Like, I don't think that they are trying to do that. You know what I mean? Like trying to make limited edition products so that people go crazy to boost their brand or whatever. I I think that it's just part of their travelers like ecosystem world. Like they have particular themes. They do small runs because they're not really that huge of a company. um they've grown very steadily but like small, you know what I mean? And their items are rare, but because they do it in different locations, because they are doing something specifically for that community, all of the designs are very well thought out and researched to like that specific place when they're doing like something there. And there's like a lot of reasoning behind it. I feel that, anyways. So I struggle with the whole thing myself because, of course, there are many colors and like cool products that I want. And, um, you know, what if I never get to go to Japan? like, so I just can't have them. I mean, I guess that's life. But like, you can go to a reseller, you can ask someone to buy it for you, whatever. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to go there in person. I definitely struggle with it because I feel like obviously it would mean so much more if you actually traveled there and got the TN and it was like a whole experience. And that's like part of the whole philosophy of like travel, analog life, your TNs. But at the same time, I feel like not everyone has that opportunity. Not everyone gets to travel to like every single place. That doesn't mean that you can't just buy like a limited product from afar if you have access to it, and you're able to buy it. So I don't know, like what is it worth to you, I suppose, and what are you willing to spend? So yeah, lots of thoughts on consumerism, this stationery hobby, like all these dilemmas, and I don't know. It's always easy to make extreme examples, I know, because like if someone were to say like, oh, compare this to luxury purses, like, the price of these stationery items are like nothing compared to that because like, luxury items, oh my gosh, my stationery purchases are like a drop in the bucket. Like a Gucci purse costs like at least $3,000, something like that. So I don't know. It's all a personal thing. So I don't know. That's all I have in this insert for now. And this is just my little like stationary drama slash thoughts, like whatever. I just call it stationary drama because I think that's like cheeky cool. But it's not always like scandal. It's just my stationary thoughts. And I like having this space to write out my thoughts on like this particular topic. So that is my Midori Black Passport TN. Let me know what you think. Do you journal about your stationary thoughts just in your regular journal, your personal journals, or do you have something separate? I would love to know. Let's chat in the comments down below if you have any feedback at all. And thank you for watching and listening to me chat about all this stationary stuff. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want more stationary videos. I will definitely be sharing every single one of my TN setups. Thank you again, and until next time, bye.